Ever stared at a fraction problem and felt your brain just freeze? Yeah, you're not alone. Today, we're going to unlock a powerful shortcut for comparing fractions that's way more about smart thinking than it is about hard math.
So take a look at this. I bet your first instinct is to start adding the fractions on the right, then try to figure out how to compare it to the one on the left. It just feels like a multi-step headache waiting to happen, right?
And yeah, the sum on the right is greater. Now, you could have figured this out the old-fashioned way. Add 1/12 and 5/12 to get 6/12, then find a common denominator with 4/8. Let's see, that's 24, and honestly, my brain already hurts just thinking about it. But that's the old way. We're here for the shortcut.
So let's introduce a much simpler approach. We're going to use a shortcut that's all about reasoning, not just plugging and chugging through calculations. The whole trick, the entire game changer, is using just one simple reference point.
Our secret weapon is something called a benchmark fraction. Think of it like a familiar landmark on a map. Instead of getting totally lost in all the numerators and denominators, you just need to see where your fraction is compared to that landmark. And our superstar landmark for today, it's the simplest, most useful one of all: 1/2.
Yep, 1/2. That's it. Seriously. We all have this great, built-in gut feeling for what 1/2 is. This simple, intuitive idea is the key that's going to unlock some pretty complex-looking fractions in a snap. From now on, this is the one and only question you need to ask yourself first. When you see a fraction, before you even think about grabbing a pencil, just ask, is this thing bigger than, smaller than, or exactly equal to 1/2? You'll see, asking this one simple question changes the entire game.
All right, enough theory, right? The best way to really get a feel for a tool is to actually use it. So let's put this 1/2 benchmark to the test with a couple of quick puzzles.
Okay, first up, a little game of which one doesn't belong. Take a look at these 4. Let's check them against our benchmark. Box B is clearly 1/2. Box C, 2 parts out of 4, yep, that's 1/2. Box D, 3 out of 6, you guessed it, also 1/2. But look at A, it's 3/8. Well, half of 8 is 4, so 3/8 has got to be less than 1/2. Bam! A is our odd one out. See? No crazy math, just simple reasoning.
Nice job on that warm-up. Now for a little card sorting challenge. We're going to take a few different fractions and using nothing but our 1/2 benchmark, we're going to sort them into one of these 3 columns: less than, equal to, or greater than 1/2.
First up, we've got 2/10. Okay, let's ask the question. What's half of 10? That's 5. So 5/10 would be exactly 1/2. We only have 2/10, and 2 is a lot smaller than 5, so this one is clearly less than 1/2. In the first column it goes. Easy. All right, next card, 4/8. What's half of 8? Well, it's 4. Hey, look at that. Our numerator is 4. So 4/8 is exactly 1/2. That one slots perfectly right into the middle column.
Now for one that might make you pause for a second, 3/5. Let's think it through. What's half of 5? Well, it's 2.5, right? Our numerator is 3, and since 3 is bigger than 2.5, that means 3/5 has to be greater than 1/2. It goes in the third column. See how that reasoning just clicks?
And there you have it. Our table is all sorted. By asking that one simple question, we were able to quickly make sense of all these fractions without breaking a sweat. It's such a powerful and flexible way to think.
Okay, so this is a cool little mental math trick. I get it. But you might be thinking, when am I ever going to use this? Well, let's take this idea out of the classroom and bring it into the kitchen for a little bake-off.
Imagine you're baking. The muffin recipe calls for a 1/2 cup of chocolate chips. The cookie recipe needs 3/4 of a cup. So which recipe is going to be more chocolatey? Which one uses more chips?
Now, we could find a common denominator, or we could just use our benchmark. The muffin recipe is easy. It is our benchmark of 1/2. And what about 3/4 for the cookies? Well, half of 4 is 2, and our numerator is 3, so 3/4 is definitely greater than 1/2. I mean, you could just see it. And boom, just like that, you know the cookies use more chocolate chips. No complex calculations needed. We just compared both recipes to our mental landmark of 1/2, and the answer became totally obvious.
You know, what you've just learned isn't just a trick. It's a fundamental shift in how you can approach numbers. It's like a mental upgrade. Let's just call it your new math superpower.
The big takeaway today is really about this mental shift. You're moving from just mindlessly calculating to actively reasoning with the numbers. You're going from just following rules to flexibly using tools, like the 1/2 benchmark. And this transforms what feels like a frustrating math problem into a fun little puzzle to solve. This is how you build real, intuitive number sense.
We focused entirely on 1/2 today just because it's so incredibly powerful. But it's not the only benchmark out there. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. What other simple, common fractions could you use as a benchmark to make sense of the numbers all around you? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.